Another interview, another rejection. The disappointment in my mother's voice hit before I even stepped fully into the dining room for our weekly family dinner. "Maybe if you'd worn the suit I picked out instead of those discount clothes," she said with a sigh, her gaze sliding over me like I was an embarrassment. I looked down at what I wore, subtle designer pieces that cost more than a month of their mortgage, though they'd never know it. "Not yet." "It went fine," I muttered. Sitting down at the far end of the table, the unofficial seat reserved for the family let down. "Fine doesn't pay rent," my dad muttered without even glancing up from his phone. "Your sister Caroline just made partner at her firm. That's what progress looks like." Caroline, seated right next to Mom at the head of the table, radiated pride. "Actually," she added sweetly, "I just finalized a major acquisition deal. Anderson Tech is buying out one of my clients. Huge win for us." I swallowed a smirk. Anderson Tech, my company, the very deal she was bragging about? I had personally signed the acquisition paperwork that same morning, right before my so-called failed interview. Mom raised her wine glass toward Caroline. "Now that's a real career. Not the startup nonsense you keep clinging to." My phone vibrated silently. A text from my CFO. "Times Square billboard goes live at 8 p.m. All media outlets confirmed." Caroline leaned forward with a sly grin. "You know, my firm's hiring paralegals. You might actually be able to handle that." Dad finally lifted his eyes. "Now, there's a practical suggestion. Time to let go of this entrepreneur fantasy and get serious." If only they knew. That so-called fantasy just made me the youngest female CEO to ring the opening bell at the stock exchange. And Caroline's firm? Soon to be one of my company's subsidiaries. "I'll think about it," I said, casually checking the time. 7:55 p.m. What's there to consider? Mom snapped. "You've done nothing with your life. No job, no goals, no accomplishments. Just failure." Maybe she was right. I stood and grabbed my bag. I should probably go look into some more solid career paths. Running off again? Caroline sneered behind me. "Times Square is lighting up with my merger any minute now. That's what real success looks like, little sister." I stopped at the door, turned slowly. "You know what? You're right. Why don't we all go see Times Square? Right now." Mom frowned. "What?" "The Anderson Tech announcement," I said with a faint smile. "You want to see what success really looks like? Let's watch it together." They glanced at each other, puzzled, but curiosity, or the urge to gloat, got the better of them, and they agreed. I could see it in their eyes. They were expecting to bask in Caroline's glory while rubbing my nose in it. During the ride, Caroline didn't stop talking, rattling on about how she led every stage of the merger, how she was about to be the new face of corporate law, how the legal team had been a dream to work with. If only she realized they'd been reporting directly to me the entire time. We arrived at 7:59 p.m. just as the digital billboards began to shift. "Here it comes," Caroline said smugly, lifting her coffee cup like a toast. "My name's about to be up there with the merger deal." The giant screens flickered. Then my face appeared on every display. Breaking news. Tech pioneer Sarah Chin, CEO of Anderson Tech, finalizes billion-dollar acquisition in landmark merger. The crowd gasped. Phones rose into the air. Flashes went off. My name and face lit up every corner of the square. Caroline's cup slipped from her fingers, smashing on the pavement. Mom's mouth fell open. That can't be." "That's me," I said softly. "All of it." The screens continued to rotate between my name, my face, and the announcement. Caroline stood frozen, her perfectly painted expression cracking. Mom gripped Dad's arm like she was about to faint. "This isn't possible," Caroline whispered. "I've been working with Anderson Tech's legal team for months." My legal team, I corrected every meeting, every deal point, every contract you thought you were directing. I was overseeing the entire time. Before they could respond, a group of business reporters spotted us and swarmed. Microphones, flashes. "Miss Chin, can you comment on the merger? Is it true you're the youngest female CEO to close a billion-dollar deal? What's your response to being named Forbes 30 under 30? Mom instinctively stepped forward, eyes wide, her social ambition kicking in. She was about to claim credit. As proud mom of the moment, I raised my hand to stop her. I'll speak for myself, Mom. Just like I built everything myself for the past 5 years, while you call me a failure. I turned to reporters and slipped easily into CEO mode. This acquisition marks a major expansion of Anderson Tech's software capabilities. We're excited to integrate this innovation into our core operations. That's my merger, Caroline blurted out. I led that deal. The reporters glanced at her, then turned their attention back to me. Cameras ready. Microphones up. I smiled calm and certain. The truth needed no defense. It was already on every screen in the city. This is my sister, I said smoothly, nodding toward Caroline. She's a junior partner at Stevens & Blake, one of the many law firms we contracted during the acquisition. Junior partner? Caroline's voice cracked. I'm a full partner. I calmly unlocked my phone and pulled up the contract files. Technically, your promotion was conditional, dependent on finalizing this merger. The same merger now owned by my company. So, no deal, no promotion. Dad finally pieced it together. His voice broke the silence. Those job interviews, all that time, you weren't failing. You were negotiating deals, pitching to investors, sitting in boardrooms. I gestured casually to the glowing towers around us. While you were urging me to find something real, I was laying the foundation for a tech empire. More reporters had arrived. The crowd thickened. One voice pierced through. Someone from CNBC was pushing for an exclusive. Miss Chin, a Wall Street Journal correspondent, called out, "Your company just hit a $50 billion valuation. Any comment on being one of the youngest self-made billionaires?" Mom swayed slightly, as if the number alone knocked the breath from her chest. "Excuse me," I said politely to my stunned family. "I've got a press briefing to handle." I paused, turning slightly toward my sister. "Oh, and Caroline, about that merger you were so proud of? Check your inbox. Your firm's been relieved of all future representation." "You can't do that," she snapped. "I already have," I replied coolly. "Anderson Tech is transitioning to new legal counsel." I gave her a pleasant smile. "Maybe that paralegal job you recommended for me is still open. Could be a good fit." I turned and walked toward the crowd of flashing cameras, hearing Mom's voice call after me. "Sarah, sweetheart, let's celebrate. As a family." "Family," I repeated quietly, pausing under the electric lights of Times Square. "You mean like when you celebrated my failures? When I was stuck at the end of the table? When I was called a burden and a letdown?" The cameras were rolling, soaking up every word. But now that my name lights up the skyline, I continued, "Now that I'm a billionaire, you suddenly want to claim me?" I gave a soft laugh. That's not how family works. And it's not how success works, either. I gave a nod to my security detail, who stepped forward and gently placed themselves between me and my parents. Turning back to the reporters, I said, "If you'll excuse me, I've got an empire to run." The next morning, sunlight spilled to the tall windows of my penthouse office in Anderson Tech Tower. I sipped my coffee, watching the headlines roll across every news station. My face was everywhere: CNBC, Bloomberg, CNN, even lifestyle outlets. A notification buzzed. My assistant's voice echoed through the intercom. "Miss Chin, your family is in the lobby. Your mother is trying to live stream. She says she's here visiting her celebrity CEO daughter." I pulled up the security feed. Mom was perfectly styled, hair done, makeup pristine, clearly camera ready. Caroline stood beside her in yesterday's wrinkled designer suit, eyes hollow. Dad clutched a leather portfolio stuffed with documents. No doubt another desperate pitch. "Your sister," my assistant added, "is telling people she masterminded the acquisition. She's currently claiming she personally negotiated the terms." "Send them up," I said calmly, "and initiate Protocol Alpha." A few minutes later, they were escorted into my office. Their confident stride faltered as they took in a massive space, the floor-to-ceiling view of the city, their city, now mine. Mom stepped forward, recording with her phone. "Sarah, darling, we're so proud of you." "No filming," I interrupted, waving to security. "Phones, please." The guards collected their devices. Mom's eyes darted nervously, lost without her digital lifeline. Sit, I said, pointing to the chairs facing my desk. Let's talk about your behavior in the last 24 hours. Behavior? Dad asked, his voice unsure. I pressed a button beneath my desk. Monitors lowered from the ceiling, displaying a rolling slideshow of screenshots and videos. Caroline, I began 3 televised interviews where you took full credit for the merger, 7 social media posts claiming Anderson Tech as your brainchild, and 1 LinkedIn essay declaring yourself the legal architect of my company's future. I was just lying. I cut in, and possibly breaching several NDAs your firm signed. Would you like to see the consequences of that? She slouched, her face pale as I clicked to the next screen. Penalties, lawsuits, fines. Mom, I continued, switching displays. 42 social media posts claiming you had insider access to my company. 15 live streams from our lobby. Multiple posts calling yourself a tech mom. And my favorite, try to sell backstage passes to meet your CEO daughter. The silence was sharp. Even her perfect makeup couldn't cover her shame. And you, I said, turning to Dad, those business proposals? The ones you've been shopping around to my competitors? He looked up, startled. You really thought I wouldn't find out? Sweetheart, I was just trying to cash in. After years of mocking me, I stood and walked to the window, taking in the skyline. Then, pressing another button, I brought up more screens, contracts, cease and desist orders, media takedowns, lawsuit drafts. 1 signature, I said, and every attempt you've made to ride my success turns into a very expensive mistake. Caroline's voice trembled. You wouldn't do that. We're family. Family, I echoed. Like, when you made me sit apart from everyone else. When you told me I wasn't good enough to be one of you. I walked back to my desk and picked up 3 thick folders. Here are your choices, I said calmly. Mom, you'll delete every post, sign a non-disclosure agreement, and walk away. Caroline, you'll issue a public apology and step down from your firm. Dad, hand over those proposals and agree to a 5-year non-compete. Caroline scoffed weakly. Or what? Or, I said, I'll release everything. Every dinner table insult, every sarcastic message, every voice recording screenshot and mocking post you ever made. All of it. I took my seat and straightened my blazer. And one more thing, the house, the table where I sat alone, I bought it. The table, too. In fact, I smiled faintly. I own the building where your law firm rents space. Caroline, funny how far failure can go. They stare at me, stunned, as I slid the folders across the desk. Sign now, I said coolly, where the next time my name hits Times Square, it'll be with a very different kind of headline. They signed, quietly, resigned. Security led them to the elevator. Just before the doors closed, Mom turned back. Sarah, please, we can make this right. No, I replied, my voice steady. You don't get to fix what you never helped build, but you can stand back and watch what success really looks like. The doors closed. I turned back to the view. The city was mine now. Sometimes, the sweetest victory isn't proving anyone wrong. It's achieving so much they're forced to live with how wrong they were.